Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I just have one or two announcements before I do a few readings for fun. The first thing is that I heard from Marco this morning. This is Tuesday, April 16th, and he gave me my tracking number, so I know my Atea deck is on the way. So if Marco sends a deck, I usually get it within 3 or 4 days, so I'll most assuredly have it before the weekend or probably by Saturday at the latest. Now the only problem is I watch my grandson tomorrow and Friday, and then Thursday I'm helping my daughter out with something. So it depends on when it shows up. If it shows up on Thursday before I have to see my daughter, help my daughter out, I'll see if I can do a do a reading, not a reading, just do a showcasing of the deck if it comes early enough in the day, or if it comes Wednesday night, I can do a video on Thursday. Otherwise, I'll do it on Saturday, and I'll take my time with it. So I have a few questions that I've been thinking about, and they're miscellaneous. They're not all the same thing or on the same topic. One is this young man, Sebastian Rogers. Where is he? It's just, we're just throwing out too many speculations. Nobody, the authorities aren't speaking about what they know. So I think my question is, where is he? Where is Sebastian in proximity to his house? Where is he? Let's see if the cards can give us any clues about where he is in proximity to his home. So let me go off camera, go into my meditative place, and then shuffle the cards, and then I'll be back. Okay, and the deck that I'll be using for this spread, or for these readings, is the Classic Tarot. I think it was put out by U.S. Game Systems, Inc. in the early 70s, mid-70s. I no longer have the box, so unfortunately, I don't think the cards have, let me see, are there any dates on these cards? I don't think there are. Yeah, there's no dates on them. Anyway. Okay, question one is, where is Sebastian Rogers in proximity to his house? Okay, so we have a pentacle, which shows, could represent domestic, right? It could represent in the neighborhood. But then we have somebody on horseback. So it could also represent being removed from the neighborhood. So let's see what the next few cards suggest. And then we have the Page of Swords, which is a youthful individual. Could be him. And Two of Coins. And this is the only pip card in the spread. So the two, if we were to look at pull a quint card, the two would be the female Pope. Wow. So this suggests that to me, I think it kind of suggests he's not too far from the house. I think this represents Sebastian. We know some of his favorite things to do were video games, which the Suit of Swords could suggest that. The last time we know he was alive, he was entering a car to go home. And then this card could suggest that he got home. It's a partnership. He was home with it, he was home with his mom. And the quintessential card is the female Pope. And I hope you don't mind perusing the deck while I look for the female Pope. But this is a charming deck. Unfortunately, I think it's out of print. I don't think it's still in print. So for those of you who don't have it and you may not be able to get it, it might be nice for you to see the cards. But it's always the last card. When I'm looking for a quint card on camera, it's always the last one or one of the last ones. And sometimes I don't even see it and I go through it before I realize I passed it already. There she is. There's the female Pope. Well, it does suggest a mother. It's not like a mother like the Empress is a mother. But if we look at this card as Pope Joan or even the Magdalene, Pope Joan was a mother. She gave birth. That's what became of her. That was what led to her downfall. If we look at the Magdalene, who was, my guess is as good as any, but even decades before Dan Brown, when I was a docent at the Philadelphia Museum, and there was a piece in the museum that I was fascinated with, which was the Magdalene in the south of France, which I had seen years before any of those books ever came out. I was fascinated by that picture because in that painting, which is really old, I mean, it's like in the year 2000, the year 1000, I think, or really, really, really old. Like if it's not in the year 1000, it was painted like in the very early 1100s or 1200s. And it depicted the Magdalene in the south of France with her children and, the children that she had by Christ. So I do see this card as another possible mother card, not just the Empress, but like a secret mother, or a mother with a secret. And it goes against what I had been saying all along in my readings because I wasn't seeing a parental influence there. But tell me what you think. I mean, to me, I think this is Sebastian. I think this suggests getting in a vehicle and going home. This suggests that he got home, I think, and there's two, so him and his mom were home. I see the suit of coins as a domestic card, a suit rather. And then we have, maybe the mother has an idea. Maybe the mother knows. Gosh, I hate to think that the mother had anything to do with it. So I don't want to put that out there. I really don't. Because I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, especially if there's no evidence. I don't like to spread rumors and gossip. But, at the very least, it could suggest that mom has an idea. Maybe she has a hunch. And, maybe she's given the authorities what she thinks. But for whatever reason, they're holding it close to the vest. It doesn't seem like the authorities think that any of the parental figures have anything to do with it because they haven't been arrested, So there's that. Okay, now my second question is kind of long, but it's been, troubling me for probably at least a year. And it's one of the reasons why I've added a little more on my tagline of be safe, be healthy, be safe, be kind, and do no harm. Because it used to be, at least on the surface, that the majority of human beings were decent human beings. Or at least they kept their hateful remarks to themselves because they at least recognized that their ideas or their comments or their hateful remarks were not acceptable. But it seems now, in the past 10 years or so, maybe less, that the scales have turned, the scales have tipped, and it seems now that there are more indecent people than there are decent people. And people are no longer ashamed of saying hateful things. A lot of people feel like they have the right to be unkind and to, I don't know, it just seems like, where does that come from? Where is that coming from? So I would really like to know the cause of this. Oh, look, I did all the shuffling on camera. I didn't turn off the camera. Usually I do. I guess I'm not going into my meditative place, but I've been at this so many years. I think the universe understands how I operate, and I hope the universe gives me a clear response in understanding why humanity has become more hateful in recent years. Wish fulfillment. Oh my goodness, what's that suggest? 8, wow. And the next card is, I think that's a 9, 9 of Swords. So we have 9, 8, which is 17, and 17 and 9 is 26. So we have a pair of 9s flanking an 8. So we have 26 minus 22 would be 4. That would be the Emperor. That suggests a ruler or a leader, doesn't it? Perhaps a hateful ruler. Or a hateful individual in charge. Let's see what this guy looks like. Well, he is a blonde. I'll say no more. Okay. So if we look at this in the classic sense of wish fulfillment, it could be that, but let's look at other ways we can look at it, especially since we have a second 9. So we have a 9 of wonderful things, of abundant love, of abundant positive emotion. And then we have a 9 of high rank, a sword of high rank, which suggests aggression, agitation. So, and when I see swords and cups, even though they're not opposite, contrary elemental dignities, if I see, that, the suit of cups is surrounded or has high ranking suits, 9s of an aggressive suit like this, I kind of see it as like stirring up the pot, right? Like stirring up the emotional pot. And then 8, if 8 is the result of stirring up the emotional pot, so we have a descendant, a descendants, like descending. Now it's still rather high. It's not, it's not as pitiful as I thought. The way I thought it was like just about every human being is indecent. Gosh, they're so hard to find people in conversation that you speak to casually that aren't in my inner circle, just aren't ashamed to say hateful things. And there's so many hateful things, especially spoken online, that I'm surprised that it's just a small descent. But maybe the good folks are going to turn it around. Maybe it has. Maybe corrupt leaders or, hateful people in positions of power. And it doesn't have to be one individual. It could be a lot of people. A lot of people have been turned on to, people have always been greedy, But there used to be more generosity with people in positions of power. And now there doesn't seem to be. Very few people give things for free or share things for free. You saw what happened to Tesla. He said he knew how to give the whole world electricity for free. Wouldn't have cost them anything. And the powers that be, the people who had the power to benefit and make money off of electricity, put an end to that, didn't they? So it's fewer and fewer people who are generous in spirit and willing to give things for free, because people will take what they learned for free and then turn it into something that they make money with, right? That happens all the time. It happened to Tesla. And so, but perhaps there is a group of people who are beginning to understand things a little bit better. And even though even though it seems that, we only notice the negative, maybe there are still decent human beings in the majority, or maybe they're figuring out ways to be a good influence or something like that. And let's see, I don't have a third question. I'd like to do things in threes, where, I at least like to try to have 3 questions. So let me go off camera for a little while, see if I can come up with a third question that's a decent question, and then I'll be back. Well, I guess this sounds corny, but I was thinking of my last question and how it seems like greed is just behind everything. I mean, how often do we say, follow the money? There's money behind every problem or every mystery almost. So what is it that everyone who's watching this, in our little small corner of the world, we have a very small corner of the world on this channel, what could we do to affect humanity in a more positive way and demonstrate less greed? Well, we have the star. Could mean a number of things. It can mean finding one's way. It can be hope. It could be taking advantage of opportunity. It depends on the context of the question and the other cards. So let's see what some of the other cards are. This looks like a 9 of batons. I see batons as a social suit. High number, high ranking number in the suit of batons. It could also be seen as a crossroads. It can also be seen as a blockage. And we have the Hanged Man, right? There's consequences for behaviors. The quint for this would be, we have 17 and 9 would be 36. 36 and 12 would be 48 minus 22 would be 26, of course, which doesn't exist. Minus 22 would give us 4, which is the Emperor again. Wow. Now, in the event when you do a tarot reading and you make a numerical mistake, and say, for example, if it really isn't number 4, but really it should have been another number, you go with what was perceived at the time. That's my rule of thumb. So, for example, if I just said that the star card was 19 in error instead of 17, that's how I perceived it at that moment, or however I misunderstood it, or how it's how you perceive something, or a reading at the time. So whatever number you come up with, don't badger yourself if you get it wrong, because however you perceive the answer to be, numerically, I would say that that's the answer. However, you should try to be careful. I mean, I try to be careful. I try to check my work. So we have 17 and 9, 36, 36 and 12 is 48, minus 22 is 26, minus 22 is 4. So I'm reasonably sure I got it right. But I'm just throwing that out there as a rule of thumb, because sometimes you get things wrong, and then, or I get it wrong, and then, oh my gosh, I get badgered. But it's just like, well, that was how it was perceived at the time of the reading, so it's legit. Although you try not to do that. So, well, in whatever area or whatever arena in life that we're the authority figure, right? So, whatever arena we're in, or whatever area that we are an authority in, where we all know something about something, right? We're all really good at something. We could be piss pot poor, but we can each be extremely knowledgeable in something, right? So in whatever area we're knowledgeable in, perhaps we could share that information. I'm reading it from left from right to left instead of left to right. But either way is, I think, valid. But that's how it's striking me, because he is looking this way. And so for me, that's the attention is going in this direction. Sometimes it would go in that direction. It all depends. Now, we learn from our mistakes, right? We learn from experience. And so I think in whatever ways that we've recognized our errors, or perhaps errors in judgment, we can, it's never too late until we're dead, to reevaluate ourselves and our behaviors and to try to improve on those. If you know better, you do better. If there have been chances or times in our lives where we had a great opportunity, or we learned something, or we found something, and yet we blocked it, or we cut it off from the rest of other people. We blocked it. We can see this, the way I'm seeing it is either as a blockage, or a social thing, or a combination. So in the times when we were enlightened, but we chose to cut other people off, maybe it didn't bring the satisfaction. Try to think of those instances, where it didn't bring you the satisfaction that you thought it would, to have it all to yourself and just be reflective. So I guess instead of an act of this is what you can do, like to demonstrate or to do something kind, more would be to for all of us to take a good, long, hard look at ourselves in ways where we had a moment of enlightenment, but chose not to share it. And then the consequence for that was, maybe not a good consequence, that we learned from. It could have been painful for ourselves, or it could be like a guilty thing that we got away with. And, but just something that, doesn't sit well in our heart. For all of us is just to take a good, long, hard look at ourselves and some of our past behaviors and see if we couldn't improve things. Anyway, that's my take on it. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be kind, and do no harm. And I'll see you probably next with the Atea deck, hopefully just in a couple days, by Franco Benedetti.